It's October 18th, 2022. Driving by, I pulled over, two hands. I am looking at the Americana Manhasset. I'm sitting in the Whole Food Market parking lot and glancing at the shopping center. I have no allowance, no monetary, no currency, no anything in a US doll system, a US dollhouse, for which they use a one-headed bird, an ancestor I've met in the field. In fact, the ancestor that I met. Um, it's interesting. I'm looking at this flag system that was up, then came down. They put all American flags, or all US flags, let's say. I call it the United States of America flag, but I don't know if that's even the correct pronunciation. So I just drove down Sergeant James Regan area on Port Washington, by the St. Francis campus, the SFH campus, where I needed to go for a blood transfusion just recently, due to other area security concerns with my health. And so they treated me there as best that they could, I suppose. I'm not going into that, but they treated me, and my health is still a gigantic question. Special Task Force mark. I don't know. Because I'm not getting the straight answers on how to fix whatever is wrong in the field. So St. Francis has out whatever they're doing. It was on the NICE bus route. That's what they call it around here. I am outside of New York City jurisdiction, so I'm on Long Island still. I have not crossed a bridge. I have not crossed the water. But I am in no longer Queens. I'm in another area. They put up a whole bunch of American flags on the campus of the hospital. They also, in there, also have the Marines, the POW, an Excelsior flag is on the campus today. I saw by St. Francis, they also have a whole bunch of sunflowers. So I thought that was a really interesting display on the NICE bus route, for which they have like this this upside down nano symbol, if I'm talking upside down inside out kind of a thing, and then numerics of 2-3. So in like almost like a mirror image way, that's the bus route. So that's one thing. So then I'm sitting in Whole Foods now, looking up at the other flag system that just recently changed. Originally, when they changed the flag system, they put up a very unique look of, I don't have a name for it, and underneath it, it said St. John's, and then it said Americana Manhasset. I'm like, that does not look St. John's. Not by Island, not by any of the St. John's references I have. St. John's Day, 1988, doesn't look like anything in that family house. St. John's campus, 1995-96. Maybe we had somebody under that roof that looked like the candidate that they put up there on the sign, but I don't have a name on it because, again, it was a really rough crowd that I should have never had been forced out of the Glen and into the lion's den without sufficient protection. But here we are. And so now I'm watching, they changed the motif, or they changed the artwork, just so my artwork dealer knows, since apparently I have an artwork dealer that I met when the zip code was a sufficient 11743 for where the avenue took me to the Glen, and then that was just in the outside extensions of a acceptable village for Huntington purpose. So I'm looking up. They have now in church this week at Zion, they in Sunday school asked a very specific question of me and the children, or me and my child. They asked what my favorite berry was. And I'm like, I don't even know how to answer that. Are we talking breakfast berry? Because it's... So now I'm looking at the signage for this month, or however long they put these campaigns up. I don't even know if it's a campaign. It's a shopping center. So like Americana Manhasset with some very distinct patterns that are in areas. Some I recognize, some I've never seen before. There's one that looks like it represents a state. The rest look like countries. And then, of course, there's the State Department's flag. And, like, just slightly above all the rest is there at what department, country, state, crowns. Like, there's things I don't even have words for because they're not English. So it's... is it regional, territorial, or is it global? Yeah, again, one grandpa was in a Big Bird one way and the other grandpa may have been in Big Bird the other way. So I got like Hades' three-headed dog on the ground. As grandchild in like, I loved them both. I just didn't get to meet one of them. Died before I was born. Like, off to the races, right? The American one I needed from the race before I arrived was already deceased. So how does that work for protecting the granddaughter? So I'm looking at what they have, and I see now where this very conversation may have come up at Sunday school at Zion, Episcopal Zion, for placement of, I was there. And then I'm looking, the hands, this that I'm wearing at the moment looks like the model from Model, in a very black and white attire, just so War of the Roses is clear. Somebody did invite me to a wedding, Leacock, and his angel, and I went to their wedding. They asked me to be in the wedding. I thought it very strange because they really don't know me, but anyway, she picked a black and white gown. I then wore that to the Washington get-together gala, where it was the exact same costume and bridesmaid dress that they asked me to wear, so I assumed it was American acceptable, although a shawl probably would have been the better way to go, but that's what the American socially acceptable that designed the gown in like 1975's crew, after 1975 already, and I'm stuck in this, like, is it obstruction? Is it like really dangerous for me at the moment? After already suffering under traumatic events like multiple times. So they then have a second one that says London, and then they call it a watch fair. I'm like, wow. Thomas Jefferson, if you had a sister, I'm just like, she modeled for this month's message. If I had to figure out what was going on in, like, God sent me a messenger, oh my God, yeah, and physicality. And then, like, if he had a sister, I mean, like, again, how do I know what you look like with hair? So I'm just like, wow, the messages here this month are definitely, hands are on the 10 and 2 when you drive. I mean, it's just letters, I don't know, but numerics, from a Whole Food market in the field. And then I heard something on the radio today about a brain trust. I've never heard that ever referenced before. Some key-op words in a conversation that isn't even in my purview. or in a human connected type of a way, in a Glenn way of, I'm away for what now? Like, how do they get away with keeping me so far out of the conversation? So, brain trust, I'm like, oh boy, that is the cyber attack tie in for, oh no, I've been hurt really bad in cyber attacks that I can't, from cyberspace in a terminal to cyborg and brainwave function in like a high scientific way for which I don't have field medic like who takes reports to even like speak to, unless I'm calling it in over the internet. So that doesn't seem like the safest way to go, but here we are. So it's on American soil, no less. So there's that, which brain trust. I'm like, now does that go back to proprietary and like intellectual properties? I'm just curious because those have been really harmed in the field by, I don't know what, some kind of connection with the environment and atmosphere. Not sure if it's tied and related to a fight that's either being won or lost elsewhere, because there's also some chemical weaponry being dispersed and used, and other issues going on. Again, I've got like that girl with the pearl earring if it's just an individual, and then there's the Mary Magdalene with Jesus Christ connection at 12 like apostles, for which this month's looks really integritous. So I don't know if the fight's there. And then, like I mentioned earlier today, there's at the state level of New York what's claiming to be an attorney general, which I can't confirm, but it looks like the TV confirmed it somehow. But they're operating in some silent manner, along with the mayor of New York and some other like chemical, like the fumigation machines are under the control of some DOT representative of, I don't know, he doesn't even sound like indigenous North American. I don't know how that's tying in. And then there's the federal disintegritous like break from the last supper. I think another part of the world had the last czar reference with Nicholas. I'm in the Saint Nicholas, or I'm in the Saint Nick area of a different whatever, but has a very real importance in protecting something. So that's that. So, and then somebody was trying to do an antitrust and breaking up the antitrust. I'm like, does that have to do with my intellectual property and the brain trust? I'm just curious because I've already been harmed by cyber effects with whatever they're building dangerously between communications, between inside networks, between details, between mergers and acquisitions, like hostile takeovers, and then abuse of the children inside the system in places far, far outside of my scope of natural ability to protect myself and find other humans that I need to be in contact with. So I'm looking at all of this as a girl with a pearl earring, but knowing there's the Last Supper integritous church piece of what Jesus and Mary Magdalene and the 12 acceptable apostles that have a visual look to them, which is a peace treaty, but also one way of thinking. Because then they also mentioned key op words on the radio today as I'm scanning the dial, infatuation. And I'm like, so heard that word before. Then I was inside physical therapy and on the radio. Normally in the physical therapy office, the radio has like oldies but goodies, like a very mild mix, it would seem, except one day they had something very new age on in alternative rock, but for the most part they keep the curses out for the geriatrics that are and respectables that come in. Today they had on not like pop rock, they had on more country, what I would call country, maybe country pop. I don't really know because, again, I don't follow the music genre. But important features are, it was on, I mentioned it to the physical therapist. I said, oh my gosh, you have country on today. I said, what a nice change. He said, yeah. He said, and I said, it's interesting. On New York's radio, when I scan the dials, there's only one country station, and I can't even get it all the time. He goes, really? Because I wouldn't have noticed. He says, I use a lot of Pandora and stuff. I go, I never really thought of it this way before, but that seems to be really dangerous because it's like geared just towards you. I was like, so you're not really in the local watching the signs of the times and how things are changing? I was like, because when everything's geared towards you, it's like having chocolate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's like obesity is just around the corner. I go, it sounds like a really dangerous way to behave in the field. I'm just saying. And so he started laughing because actually he says, I see your point. And I'm like, right. So I said, so for me, I was like, I'm listening to the radio. There's a country station that comes in every now and again. I know the name of it, Nash. And then all of a sudden, I was like, but what's really frustrating? I only speak English, and I know I'm in an only English-speaking area. I was like, but there's more Spanish-speaking stations right now on the regular New York airwaves than there are country stations playing music. I go, how is that possible? I mean, like, if I'm looking at signs of the times, I mean, it's just, that's frightening. I mean, like, again, I'm used to hearing a lot of, like, hip-hop and bebop and, like, what's going on with pop and the zoo, and then there's, like, the 50 most least annoying but most obnoxious, like, whatever in boy bands and like Spice Girls and all you crazy kids. I'm doing some kind of over the top reaching for the stars stuff so we can all follow along and keep in sync. But anyway, so on the radio, they were like he put on this country station, which I really appreciated because it wasn't like, he even said, he's like, it's not like banjos or whatever. I'm like, yeah, again, I know it's country. I know it's this country. I know it's country. I was like, is it the pop? Because again, like, I don't follow CMA. Like, I mean, I would, but I don't follow hip hop, like R&B. Like, I don't even know I don't even know the words of they got the little astronaut with the thing on the MTV, right? I don't even follow those kids. I mean, like, I know they think they're so important. They award themselves, got that. They got a place in the world, got that. But things have been breaking, and I got Big Bird stuff going on, and I'm like, how do I survive this field? How do I survive this field? How do my kids survive this field? And why am I being, like, doubled down on punishment and hurt when I am the child that was born at the Last Supper with two different kinds of birds that were grandpa'd in, so I didn't favor one more than the other in offsetting and keeping balance in a very nice way. I mean, very independent and objective. Yes, I can be. But there's so many pieces that feel like they're opponents and they've been pushing up on me, and I don't even know where to begin or what's acceptable or what needs to be spoken about in a manner of fixing and moving into the future. So it's just, that's where I'm at the moment. It's star 1978, star 8378. And there were other patients in the physical therapy office. I overheard one. He's preparing for some marathon. There was another person who was brand new there. There was a new staff. There was one person I recognized, and then there was somebody new on the staff. They lost a member of their team in a random accident that I don't want to talk about because I'm just like, Um, but I said, I'm sorry for your loss. I didn't know what else to say. And so this is just where I'm at the moment, just by myself, lost as a girl with a pearl earring, knowing that there is a church reference of Christianity with the Last Supper, not tied necessarily directly to a book. I don't know that they designated it to any book specifically. I looked through the photos attached to the Book of Mormon, which is the Church of Jesus Christ, so they claim, with, I know the publisher's date is super important. They have a photo array at the beginning that is specific to just their Friday, FRI. I don't know how the church designated the Last Supper painting and to what secular vernacular is acceptable. I have not found that yet. I'm still searching for for God, family, and country, as far as putting pieces back together for myself, and trying not to get hurt, not knowing really how anybody else functions in this, and why some people get paid so well, and why I've just not only been hurt by if the men are getting paid so well and they take away my person, my man, to have children with, that means that they've hurt me in such a sacred way of bound books. I mean, talk about sportsmanship being taken away. I mean, like, it just feels really dirty, is what it feels like. A really dirty operation. But then again, my other side, if I think of how criminals act, perform, and then hide in plain sight, I'm not, like, I mean, I'm not. I'm just not. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's October 18th, 2022. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.